Hello, I'm back with my baby Alex, and we're going to talk to you about babies who have a head preference or only like to lie with their head to one side. So sometimes that can be what we would call a torticollis, so it means that the head is really stuck and they can't move it back to the other side. And sometimes it is that they can move it, but it's a lot more comfortable. It's usually kind of tight muscles pulling it in one direction. We really want a baby to be able to move its head evenly to both sides, partially because when a baby is lying down, if they've only got their head stuck to one side, every time they lay down, there's pressure only on that one side of the head, and can eventually change the shape of the baby's head, flattening it on that side that there's always pressure. If the baby is happy to move to both sides, we're evening the head up so that we stay with a nice round head. The other problems that people will find if the baby has a head preference to one side, then if you're breastfeeding, one feed will be quite easy, but then the other feed, they're pointing in the wrong direction. And if they can't turn their head, it can be really, really difficult to feed from the other side, which then leads to mastitis and things like that. So what makes a baby's head preference? It's usually in utero. So usually you've got baby should ideally, but they very rarely sit like this. Chances are they're sitting like this, like this, like this. There's not a lot of room in there and they get a little bit squashed. And it may even be that they were sitting perfectly as they came out, but they liked to wriggle around and dig their head into one side and they just got a little bend. So sometimes the bend is just in the neck. Sometimes the bend can be further down. So this exercise with your baby will help with both of those. So we just start with the baby in this direction and this kind of a hold. You're then going to turn your baby over to the side to face away from you, and you can do this as young as newborn. And we're going to, as best as we can, place the ear into the elbow like this. This arm can come under the legs, under the nappy. It really is going to depend on how old your baby is. This arm can come under the legs, through the nappy. It doesn't matter too much, right? So already there, you've got a baby that's looking in a U shape. So we're already starting to bend the baby the other way. You can quite comfortably, and babies quite like this position, they're in nice and close, they're quite warm, but they can see things. So you can quite comfortably just walk around with your baby in this position. If that's the case, I just leave your arms where they are. If you've, say gotten to the end of the day and you really know that you should have done this stretch with your baby and you really just want to squeeze it in before bedtime, a more short, sharp, but slightly more intense way of doing it is to hold on to your baby and then lift your shoulders up towards your ears. See how that's brought my baby into a more U shape, like that. And then you might hold this one for 30 seconds. Certainly if you're walking around for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I wouldn't be walking around like this. The baby will be fine, but you're doing all kinds of weird things to your own shoulders. So if you're going to walk around with the baby, I'd walk around like this, slightly less of a U shape, but we're doing it for longer, so it will still have the same effect. Yep. Do it on both sides. If you've seen someone about it, they might recommend that you only do it on one side. But given that I don't actually see you and I can't tell where your baby's bend is, giving them the flexibility on both sides is really good. Sometimes I see a head preference because it's these muscles in the front here are all tight and they're pulling the head down this way. In which case, if the head was bending over to the left but it was in the front here, you might want to put this left ear down to bend the baby back the other way. But let's say that it's actually in the right and the baby is bending over this way, and so that's got their head preference kind of doing this, then you're not going to want to bend them further this way. Yep, you're actually going to be wanting to bend them this way. So given that I can't actually see why your baby's head is preference to one side or the other, it's best off if you do both sides evenly. You won't be making them worse on the other side. You'll just be making them more flexible all round, and more flexibility is always good because inherently babies like to move. So if they've got the ability to move, they're going to move the head to all the different sides. Okay. Obviously, if your baby is unhappy, if it doesn't like being in this position, don't do it. Okay. You might want to check with a healthcare professional or just see. It is possible that if the baby's bend is extreme, that this could be causing more discomfort, but they will very quickly let you know if that's uncomfortable. Most of the time I find if a baby does have a head preference or a side bend somewhere through their spine, that being carried like this is actually more preferable to being carried like this or to being put down on the bed. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you.